Hi guys, Merry Christmas. How are you all? I'm doing okay-ish. So I thought I would get stuck into what I'm going to do for the next few talking vlogs in between hopefully some Christmas festivities. So my plan is to do a series of videos based around mental health and chronic pain. Today I'm going to be talking about fibromyalgia, which is my chronic pain condition that I have. I'm not just going to be talking about my experience, but fibromyalgia in general. So I'll just quickly go through with you my plan for the series. So the series is going to include fibromyalgia, of course, which I'm gonna I may need to do 2 parts to it because it's quite detailed. Then, not necessarily in this order, the BPD, borderline personality disorder. Now everything I read out to you, either I have or my daughter has, so it's from our experience, and just wanted to talk about it and I guess get off the skin cancer subject for a little bit and put out some videos, some educational videos on these things. So BPD, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, severe anxiety, social anxiety, that'll be all included in that particular one. OCD, now everybody's heard of OCD. Now I'm only just learning about OCD myself. That one my youngest daughter has, and it presents differently in everyone. So that'll be a good one to talk about the different ranges of OCD, the severities, the mild cases, etc. A very scrutinized, very well known, very publicized, and supposedly overdiagnosed disorder, ADHD. Now that's the one with the H, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. There's a lot of negative stuff in the media about it. I'm going to be talking about our personal experience as a family, and how we got through it. Then ODD, oppositional defiance disorder. That again is with my eldest. I'll have to do some research on that one because I've just learnt to live with it and learnt to manage it within our own family. So, and social anxiety, which I mentioned before. Now I have taken notes because I do want to get stuck into the fibro one today. Surprisingly, over the last few years, whenever I've mentioned it to people, they're like, "Oh, I know that. I've heard of that." Or my auntie or friend or etc. has that. When I was first diagnosed, when Jade Lee was 2 years old, so I believe it was in 2008, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I think she was 2 or 5. Looking back, the first signs of fibromyalgia I believe I had when I was 18 years old, and I just left home, and I was in an abusive relationship. I was bedridden for 3 months. I basically had a lot of the symptoms of fibromyalgia that I know of now, but I didn't know of back then. And I went to the doctors and I had numerous tests and blood tests, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me. And that was up in Queensland. So they were looking for the mosquito disease and all sorts of things. I mean, I was really sick, bedridden. Then, once I got over that bout, I seemed quite fine until Jade was, you know, younger. So I remember going back to the doctors week after week after week, complaining of being sore, being stiff, my skin was hurting, I couldn't walk very far without having to sit down, and it took 2 years of me going back to the GP and complaining. And then this one particular visit, I was at my worst that I had been, and I was quite distraught and upset and just so over all this pain and not having any answers for it. And that's a part of the diagnosis with fibromyalgia, is that chronic widespread pain without apparent cause. So the doctors have gone in, they've tested you for this, that, everything comes back clear. But you still have all these symptoms. And I will go through those symptoms in a minute. And he just basically said to me, and I knew nothing of it, he said, I believe you have fibromyalgia. And I'm like, fibro what? And a lot of people say, like, fibro what? So it's fibromyalgia. But anyway, so he gave me he basically just sent me on my way with a leaflet explaining fibromyalgia. And I went home and I jumped on the computer and I had a look, and had, at that point, I had probably half of the symptoms. So that was that. I mean, and he said there's no cure, there's no medication that will cure you or make you be able to live a normal life again. And that is devastating and takes years. Well, it took me years to come to terms with the fact that I now have to base my life around my inability to be able to function as a normal, at the time, 30-something-year-old and now 43-year-old. It's very difficult to live a normal life, not a full life. For example, going out with your friends, meeting up for coffee, going to a party, going to a family function. Many times you need to decline, many times you need to say, I'm not well enough. And eventually you lose all your family, you lose all your friends, and nobody understands and nobody wants to understand, and they think that you're bunging it on or just being lazy, or, you know, because with fibromyalgia also comes a chronic fatigue. And it's a tiredness that you cannot explain. You could be fine 1 minute and then you sit down for 2 minutes and you're asleep, literally asleep, and you cannot control that sleep. It's that sleepiness that your head's just nodding and you can't control it. So it took me many years to be able to work out what I could and couldn't do. But in those years I lost all my friends and family. My family did come back. They did, I guess, come to terms with it as well. But it's very hurtful and very difficult to be in all this pain, and nobody understands, and nobody really wants to understand or care. How are you? Oh, I'm in a lot of pain today. Oh, yeah, me too. You know, that's not what you want to hear. It's not what you want to hear. And it's not that I'm the type of person that needs sympathy. I don't. Just acknowledgement, I guess, and a bit of understanding about not being able to always have been able to be there when you're expected to be there. So, alright, I'm going to go through the what causes it. Okay, so what causes fibromyalgia? I'm going to read from a quote from the fibrocenter.com. That's where this is from. Okay, so some researchers say that stress and or poor physical form are the factors in the cause of fibromyalgia. And then another theory suggests that muscle microtrauma, very light damage, leads to ongoing. Cat's decided to join us, and no, you can't have the chocolate. Very light damage, and it leads to ongoing cycle of pain and fatigue. And these mechanisms, like all others, are still unproven for the condition. So basically they're saying we don't know what causes it. I have also read that trauma, whether it be a severe car accident, trauma from your childhood, trauma from being an adolescent, trauma from your current life situation, can cause it. I've also read that a lot of mothers, interestingly enough, a lot of mothers with children with ADHD, ODD and autism, Asperger's, a lot of those mothers are turning out and turning up with fibromyalgia, and that is because you're in constant fight or flight mode. So basically you are on edge 24/7. Your body is tense. You just never know what's going to happen at any one moment, and so you're constantly tense, and in turn it would seem that that's causing the body to never be out of pain. I think, you know, if you were constantly tensed up and on edge and stressed out. So I have a lot of contributing factors. For myself, my fibromyalgia, if that's what it was when I was 18, that would be from the abusive relationship I was in. I got married at 18 and divorced him at 26. That plus then going into another not healthy relationship, and then Alexia having ADHD, and she, for a girl, was diagnosed quite young, 4 years old. We had to wait till she was 5 to medicate her, but I'll talk about that in the ADHD one. So for myself, I have a lot of contributing factors that would have caused it. So I'll quickly go through the symptoms because we are running out of time already. So it's going to have to be a part 2. So, list of symptoms: chronic widespread pain without cause, fatigue, sleep disturbances, cognitive dysfunction, morning soreness and stiffness. Feels like it's heavy to walk, and it feels like sometimes it can be very like you've got a ton of weight on your shoulders and it's weighing you into the floor, and it feels like your legs and your feet are cracking as you walk, and feels like splits, you know. That's on a bad day, of course, you know. I mean, that could happen every day for some people, but for me personally, that's me when I'm extremely tired and have been through a stressful time. So cramping and muscle spasms, restless leg syndrome, digestive issues, headaches and migraines, sore skin. So with the sore skin, when I've been at my worst, when I was actually medicated for this disorder, not in 2008, I wasn't medicated. It wasn't until much later that I was medicated. I was at the point where I couldn't even have the sheets on my feet. That's how sore my skin was. Back, balance problems. I've always fallen over. I need to hold on to somebody when I'm out, because at any given point I will topple. Either it's just something that's always happened to me. And all-consuming fatigue. Also from the website Fibro Centre, they've run off a list of symptoms here that are a percentage of people who reported these symptoms, so this would have been in a study they did, and a percentage of these people said they have this symptom in order of, so for the first one it is lower back pain. So higher percentage of people reported having that, and it gets less as we go down. So frequent headaches, arthritis, muscle spasms. So the ones that I have lower back pain, I have frequent headaches, I have muscle spasms, I don't have arthritis, tingling, so that's like pins and needles in your arms or legs randomly, just happens. Balance problems, like I said, I have that. Irritable bowel syndrome, numbness, so your limbs will go numb. Generally that happens if you sit too long or if you lean on your hand. I mean, it can happen to anyone, but it doesn't take very long for that to occur. And when you're sleeping, I actually tore my rotator cuff because I lost all feeling in my arm. This is way before I was even diagnosed. And I went to roll over in the middle of the night, and my arm stayed there and my body went that way. It like reminds me of that ad. My head went that way and my arm stayed that way. And I tore my rotator cuff because my arm wasn't coming, because it was dead. It was completely dead. So completely relate to that one. Bloating, depression, anxiety, sinus problems, don't have sinus problems, and I don't have tooth disorders. Restless leg syndrome, definitely have that. Starting to get the ringing in the ears, tinnitus that's called. Jaw pain, I've always had that. Bladder problems, don't have that. And rashes, and I don't have rashes. So they're the most frequently complained about symptoms with fibromyalgia. So if you can imagine rolling all of that up into one day, that's what it's like to have fibromyalgia. That is a lot of symptoms. I don't have all of those symptoms on every day, but I can do. So the end of the story basically is that the reason why I haven't vlogged for a few days is because I'm actually currently going through a bad flare-up. So I'm extremely sore. It's hard to walk. Another thing that happens to me from my personal experience is that if I exert myself, I break out in a sweat, because another part of fibromyalgia is that your body doesn't regulate temperature properly. Being very sore, and with that, as you can understand, with constant soreness and pain, and I am medicated, but that doesn't always necessarily help. So I'll end it here, and then I will start part 2. If you want to see more of the videos, please press the like button, put a comment in. If there's a particular one of the disorders that I have mentioned to you today that you're more keen to hear about than anything else, I'll just quickly go over them again. It's BPD, PTSD, anxiety, fibromyalgia, OCD, ADHD, ODD, social anxiety. If any of those interest you particularly more than the rest, feel free to comment and I'll do that one next for you personally. Ooh, again, everybody, I'm back to finish off my end my fibro vlog. I know it's gone for a really long time, so I'll make this a bit quick and then I'll get on to part 2 of fibromyalgia and how it can affect one's life. So if I've missed any symptoms that you yourself experience, I really would love it if you added your symptoms to the comments, because it is actually a lot harder than you think to actually sit down and talk about it, even though I've been going through fibromyalgia now for 10 years. So I remembered how old Jade Lee was since doing that last one. It's actually 2 days later since I recorded that, because as I said early in that last clip, I've been very unwell and very sore and tired, and we had to go out, I think it was yesterday, and so I had planned on finishing the vlog yesterday when I came home, but I was out, I was wiped, I was out for the count, and there was no way I could finish it. So that's why I was telling you guys that hopefully not, but you know, with my fibromyalgia the way it is at the moment, going through a bad flare, I can't be consistent with my videos, and I really don't hope that it does affect my channel, but I really think it, because consistency seems to be one of the things that everybody says you need to be consistent. So I'm just doing my best. I'll do the best I can, and I'll upload. Obviously, if I'm feeling great, I will obviously vlog, because I love doing this, and I love that everybody's been so supportive. But like I was saying, if there's symptoms that I've missed from the list that you personally experienced, please put it in the comments, because then I'll go back and I'll write it down and I'll add to the list, and then I can add that into vlog 2 for fibro. So I might not put part 2 out for a couple of days. I'll wait for some comments to come in, because I'll write the comments down, and I'll write your comments down and I will add them to part 2, because I'm sure, for sure, I have missed symptoms. I'm sure I've missed some of my symptoms, but this video already is so long, I don't want to add much more to it. That's why I want to do 2 parts. So in the next part, I'm going to talk about my catamine infusion, which is getting closer. I'm really anxious and excited about that, but it's getting closer. So only, I think it's 2 days till Christmas. So today is Thursday, so we've got Friday, Saturday, and it's Christmas, so for us here in Australia. So I'll end the vlog here. I love you all. I thank you all very much for your support, and for all of you that are going to come over from my support group on Facebook, Fibro Flare. Let me just quickly give him a shout out. Can you hear my puppy dog scratching at the door? I didn't want him coming in because he's so disruptive. So on Facebook, it is Fibro Flare and Aware Australia, and I've got some people coming across from there to YouTube to check this out, and hopefully you guys can add some feedback in the comments for me, and I will add them to the next one. So the next. See? Fibro fog. One of my worst symptoms at the moment is that I cannot find simple words that you know are in your vocabulary, and they call it fibro fog. It's fog, not frog, fog, where your brain will just sort of shut off for a minute and you can't even retrieve the simplest of words. And I probably used the word I'm trying to look for 2 minutes ago in this video. So please be patient with me if I seem to stop and sort of I look like I flap off. I'm trying to think of a word, and it's gotten a lot worse this last 12 months for me, that particular symptom, where it could be a simple word and it's just not there, and it is very frustrating. It's also very embarrassing, especially if you're trying to have a conversation with somebody and then you go, oh, blah blah, and they'll go, oh, that wasn't such a hard word to think of. Well, it is for me when I've got the tired fibro frog hats. I said it again, the frog. There's no frogs in here, I promise you. Anyway, video 2 of, or let's just say video 2 of fibromyalgia. I'll add in any comments or suggestions that you guys have. Symptoms. I'd love to hear the different symptoms from different people. So welcome to all of you guys coming across from Fibro Flare and Aware on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube and you're a fibromite, jump on Facebook and join the group Fibro Flare and Aware, and it is a fantastic support group. It's my go-to for support. You can vent, you can tell them if you're having a crappy day, and everybody is so supportive because they know what you're going through, because they're going through it themselves. So if you haven't already, please go and join the group. And Maree, pretty sure it's Maree Long is the admin. I'll just double check that. Yep, Maree Long, she's the admin for that group, and she'll add you, and everybody is so welcoming. So I'll quickly finish now. Please press the like button. Please, fibromites, add a comment of your symptoms, and I'll match them up against what I've already got written down. I'm sure I've missed some, so let's get the list going, and I'll add it to video 2. You know what, guys, I love you all so much. I love you, and I will see you soon.